Welcome back to DevOps with Sweta. This is the part 2 of Linux interview question, the ones I has actually asked in my DevOps interview. If you haven't watched part 1, I will link it into the description. Go and watch that first because first one covers the basic commands and this goes quite deeper. In the part 2, we will cover the troubleshooting, real world scenario and the operation question. They are honestly the hardest one, the ones that separate candidates who actually use Linux in production from those who have just studied it. Let's go into it. So guys, these are the 5 questions that we will cover today. Let's move to the question number 6. This one of those questions that sounds super simple, but the interviewers ask it because they want to see whether you actually work on Linux server or you actually memorize the command. The question is, how do you stop a service in Linux? The most people immediately say sudo systemctl stop nginx. But yes, this is correct. But don't stop your answer here because the interviewer is actually checking if the server reboots tomorrow, nginx can still come back tomorrow. Suppose I don't want nginx to start after reboot. Then I use disable systemctl disable nginx. That's the key difference. Stop means the current session. Disable means the future reboot. One small interview tip here. If you say this line, stopping a service and disabling a service are two different things. Trust me, the interviewer immediately knows you know Linux administration. Let's move on to the question 7. The interviewer asks the difference between a soft link and a hard link. And honestly, this question scares a lot of people because the word inode comes into the picture. But don't worry, let me explain it in a simplest possible way. Imagine you have a house. The actual house is your data. Now let's create two different ways to reach that house. A hard link is like creating another entrance to the same house. Different door, same house, same data. So eventually, if somebody close one entrance, the another entrance will still work. That's exactly why if the original file is deleted, the hard link still works. Now think of a soft link as a Google Map location. It does not contain the house, it only contains the address. If somebody removes the actual house, the Google Map location is still there, but there is nothing at the destination. That's why a soft link breaks when the original file is deleted. If you forget everything else, remember this one line. Hard link survive, soft link breaks. That alone answers 80% of the question. Let's move on to the next question. Oh, now this is my favorite question because this is where interviewers stop checking the Linux command and start checking your troubleshooting mindset. Imagine you are on a call. User starts saying application is slow. So you immediately check the CPU, memory, disk, everything looks normal. Now what? This is exactly where many people get stuck. When CPU, memory and disk all looks healthy, my next thought is network because application won't work alone. They are talking to database, they are talking to APIs, they are talking to other servers, and a network issue can make an application painfully slow, while CPU and memory looks completely normal. In interview, I always say I follow a structured troubleshooting approach instead of randomly running a command. Interviewer loves to hear it. First, we will check the network. Second, we will check the application logs. Sometimes it could be failing silently. error happening in the background that aren't crashing the app but are slowing it down. Then we can say we will check the system load average. Fourth, we will check the zombie process. Advanced answer. Fifth, and this is the most advanced answer that really impress interviewer, the file descriptor limits. So always tell this answer in a structured way in an interview. So always say the answer in a structured way in the interview and say this clearly. I would check in a order. First the network, second the application logs, third the load average, and fourth the zombie process, and fifth the file descriptor limits. This will impress the interviewer. So let's move on to the question number 9. So this is the absolute favorite question that every interviewer will ask. The interviewer asks, how do you schedule a cron job and how many fields does it have? Now, if you are preparing for DevOps interview, you absolutely know this. A cron job is simply Linux way of saying run this task automatically for me. That's it. No manual effort. Linux does it on schedule. A very easy way to remember this five field is minute, hour, day, month, and weekdays. Always in that order. I personally remember it like reading a calendar from smallest unit to the biggest unit. One mistake I see a lot of candidate makes, they say cron job has six field. No, the command is not a field. It's five scheduling field plus one command. Let's move on to the last question, the question number 10. And honestly, this is how real production support actually works. Imagine your manager calls and say, application is failing. You ask, where are the logs? And nobody knows. This happens more often than you think. So instead of panicking, I follow a process. First step, check the logs because that's where Linux store most of the logs. Second step, if I don't know the exact file, I search for the errors with the grep command. After searching, the third step for modern Linux server, my favorite tool is journalctl command because sometimes logs aren't even stored in the files anymore. They are stored in the systemd journal. The interviewer is not looking for a magic command here. They are looking for a troubleshooting approach. That's the real answer. All right, guys, that's part 2 completed. Together with part 1, you have now covered 10 real Linux questions that I have personally faced during my DevOps interview. If you are preparing for a Linux or DevOps interview, don't just memorize this answer. Open a Linux machine, run the command yourself, break things, fix things. That's how you actually learn Linux. If this video helped you, let me know in the comment which question was the most challenging for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone preparing for interview. I will see you in the next DevOps with Sweta video.